So it's an incredibly cold day in Kansas City, and being the glutton for punishment that I am, I'm out at Bear and Mini, and I'm going to be test driving and reviewing a very special car. It's not just any car. It has a manual transmission, and it has all-wheel drive. And that vehicle is the MINI Paceman. And this is a really nice one. It is all-wheel drive. It's a manual transmission, and it has no sunroof. Now, I always talk about hitting the holy grail when it comes to certain cars, and this one's an odd specification. Manual transmission, all-wheel drive, and no sunroof, and it's a Paceman. So let's dive in. Now, the Paceman, when it was launched, was already kind of an odd duck. It was a SUV-sized or crossover utility-sized two-door coupe, and it had a really sharply raked roofline. It had odd taillights. It had an odd shape overall. In fact, when you went to the hatch to open it, the taillights didn't come with the hatch, so you had this weird narrow pass-through where you could get your luggage in. Now, it's not nearly as bad as most people thought, but it is a narrow space. But you still had your fold flat seats. Pull this lever here and flip it forward, and you would still have plenty of cargo space. Now, because of its quirkiness, it didn't last very long. It only lasted for 4 model years, I believe, and this one is a 2014, so it had another year or two before they discontinued the model. This particular one is finished in absolute black metallic, and it is a Cooper S, as it does have the N18 motor. Inside, standard leatherette interior, leatherette buckets in the back. It is a 4-passenger car. You have the center console with storage. You have the airplane throttle looking parking brake, and then you got the manual transmission. Now, this car does have fog lights. It does not have xenons. It's a fairly basic spec, including no sunroof. Now, under the bonnet is that N18 turbocharged motor. 181 horsepower, made it to a 6-speed manual, and you have all-wheel drive. One little quirk I always loved about the R60 Countryman and the R61 Paceman was the way you opened the rear hatch. Now, you notice it doesn't have a typical door handle. You push the badge and pull the handle to open the door. So why are we out here? Well, it's not just to show you this car. I've never driven a manual all-4 Paceman. I've driven a manual all-4 Countryman, but not a Paceman. We're going to take this one out for a drive. Now, it is 26 degrees according to the car, so it is very, very cold out. So I haven't really had much time to warm it up. I've warmed up the engine. Wheels, on the other hand, are another story. The tires are probably still fairly cold. But this is all-wheel drive, so I imagine it won't be too terrible in the corners. Because this is a used car, I am going to go easy on it, just a hair. Though with the body roll, you wouldn't think I was going easy on it. Forgot these things roll like crazy. Oh, sport mode, doy. I was wondering why it wasn't as compliant as it should be. There we go. Yeah, I skipped right over to 5th gear. This is pretty good given how cold it is outside. Wow. It aged very well. 2014 MINI Paceman with 80,000 miles on it. It's aged incredibly well. This is still very solid feeling and drives very nicely. It accelerates very well, in sport mode especially. It's just well put together. And the Paceman, being what it is already an unusual vehicle. It's a very rare Mini to own. Combine that with all-wheel drive, makes it a little bit more rare. Combine it with a manual transmission, makes it almost unicorn status. And No sunroof makes it even more unicorn status. Almost more unicorn status than the JCW Paceman. Now, if I got my hands on a JCW Paceman, that would be incredible. Those are ridiculously rare. Those are probably the rarest minis out there. And I say this owning a rare mini. Well, that was fun. Nice vehicle. Very nice vehicle. So overall, it's a very solid car, very nicely put together, very fun to drive, even in a relatively basic configuration. I would take this sucker home, and I'm sure someone will. But in the meantime, I'm going to get out of the freezing cold because it is just a little too cold, and I'm already starting to lose the feeling in my hands. If you enjoyed this video and you like what you see on this channel, check out more content on the channel at the end of this video. And as always, thank you so much for watching.